Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Be Seen podcast. Now, not in my usual setup today. I'm in Leicester. I'm in the Leicester podcast studios. So shout out to them. And today I'm joined by Mr. Lewis Pearse, who is one of our clients and is an expert in Facebook ads.
Yeah, digital marketing in general, but yeah.
Digital marketing expert. So you can see how this sort of goes hand in hand to our business. Now, Lewis, question number one for you. How do we get from workouts in your living room and workout tips in your living room on YouTube to where we are right now?
How did I get to that point? Well, I guess go back a little bit further than that. I was before I started the online coaching side of things, I was in the military, engineer in the Air Force, completely different to this. You weren't aware of that?
I knew slightly, yeah.
But yeah, so I was in the Air Force for about 10 years as an engineer, and then got fed up of that lack of life balance. I had a young girl. And I was sent to the other side of the world literally for 6 months. Didn't see her or my wife. Missed her birthday, first steps, first words, all that sort of stuff. So at that point, I was like, "This is crap. I'm out of here." And you've got to give a year's notice in the military.
A year?
Yeah, to leave. So I don't really know why. I guess I didn't get the most bang for their buck out of your service. There are ways of getting out early, which I managed to leverage. But yeah, give a year's notice, and then I basically. Like what a lot of people in the military do is you develop a passion for fitness because your job is tied very closely to it. So I was training all the time. I was into bodybuilding, weightlifting, so it just made sense to go down that route as the next kind of avenue. Had enough of having a boss being told what to do, and I was like, let's try the self-employed route. My parents were self-employed, so I kind of had a rough idea that was possible.
What did your parents do?
They actually run a childcare company.
Really?
Yeah, which again is completely different. So yeah, my mum basically started a childcare business because she needed childcare for me and my brother. So she was like, well, rather than finding one, let's make one. So she made a pretty successful one. They're in about 10 or 15 different schools in the Dorset, Hampshire area. We had about 100 employees. It was pretty big. Again, I spoke to her about it since, and it wasn't quite as difficult as normal entrepreneurship just because it was government funded because it's childcare. Do you know what I mean? So they got funding in and all that sort of stuff that were to keep them in business if they needed it. Worst case, which obviously me and yourself don't have the pleasure of. So yeah, I went down the self-employed route, went into personal training. I managed to get a pretty good gig at a gym. I basically went in and spoke to the gym owner and said, "Look, I'm still working full time. I want to get into the industry. You can't employ me while I'm employed in the military, so I can't work on the gym floor or whatever." Can we figure something out? And he actually gave me a pretty lucrative deal, which was £60 a month, which was actually cheaper than his membership fee.
£60 a month rent or wage? I was going to say
rent,
that's not lucrative if it's a wage.
Yeah, so it wasn't a hard buy. It was £60 to use his gym to train clients, and I could also use it to train myself. And it was like £100 a month to use the facility because it was pretty nice. It was actually somehow I was getting access to train for cheaper and being able to use the facility as well. But I think he'd also just lost a PT. And so I came in at just at the right time. He maybe saw me as a solution to keeping those PT clients in. Yeah, so I kind of came in, got a ton of clients. I had about 10 to 15 clients I was working with. But so I was driving an hour to work. So me and my wife, she was based at one base, I was based at the other. I chose to live at the one that I wasn't working at, so I do the commute. So I was commuting an hour to work, then doing the full day at work, working on Land Rovers and quad bikes and stuff like that. Then going to the gym, training a couple of clients, then going home. And I very quickly got into that point game where I was like, okay, this is shit.
Yeah.
I'm now working even more hours.
Yeah, driving more as well.
Yeah, driving more, working more. I was literally leaving at 7 a.m. in the morning, sometimes like quarter to 7 o'clock in the morning, and I wasn't getting home till like 9 o'clock. So maybe not getting deployed anymore or whatever, but I was still missing a lot of stuff. I was training clients.
You had a child at the time as well, was it?
Yeah, I had a child. She was about 1 year old. So I very quickly went into that trap almost instantaneously. So I was then like, right, how can I leverage time a little bit better? And I was on a married patch, which in the military, basically you live with all the other military people in the same like community. There's like a housing, it's not like council housing, but it's government funded housing where you all live in the same place, right? So a lot of the women there, and potentially men, don't work. They're all a lot of them are stay-at-home mums and all that sort of stuff. So there was very much a market for like a boot camp type thing. So I was like, if I run boot camps, I can get paid more per hour and just run them down the road.
That's a group training sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a big field. Literally at the end of my road, which I would walk down to with a bag full of cones and shit like that, and stopwatch and a Bose speaker and that sort of thing. And then I could run boot camps down there. So I reduced the amount of hours I was doing at the personal training gym, and instead switched it to the boot camp where I was working with like 50 women over a course of a week, 3 sessions a week. Saturday morning at like 8 a.m, Tuesday night, Thursday night. Was it night? It was like 6 p.m, something like that. So I was home in time for bedtime routine and that sort of thing. Home for dinner, all that good stuff. And then from there I was like, do I want to be stood in the cold?
Quietly and slowly evolutionising down around.
I need trap and the boot camp, shit weather trap as well. And I was like, right, I started researching online. Came across, the usual adverts for, back then it was a 6-figure promise, 10K in 90 days type thing, or 100. I think the one I got sucked into was 100K in 90 days or something like that.
You got sucked into that.
Yeah. But then it was a really, really good program. Like the mentorships I've joined after that probably haven't been as in depth as that one was. And on reflection, it costs like 10 grand to get into, which, back then is, well, even now, it's quite a bit of money, 10 grand to sink into it. Yeah. And you had to pay him full up front. So I had to obviously stick on a credit card or what have you. So got into that mentorship, and that kind of was like the door open. Then they massively promoted the paid advertising side of things. And which is why I'm fortunate now that on reflection I went into that first rather than initially investing in like a cold outbound focused mentorship, which I'm sure we'll get into, which works. But
are you mentored by Limitless currently?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that compare then to the? Because I've only ever had one mentorship experience, which has been this one, and it's pretty damn good. To be fair,
I've had quite a few. A lot of them are framed differently. Like with Limitless, you get one-to-one access. Yeah. You get you speak essentially speaking to the owner, right? Whereas a lot of the other mentorships, and including that one I just mentioned, you don't speak to the owner. You're in a call, so you get maybe like a couple of group calls to jump on. You post your questions in a group, and the owner gets back to you in their own time, type of thing. So it's a very, very different kind of structure. And I don't know. Maybe they might mentor people that are earlier on in their entrepreneurial journey differently, maybe more hands-on. But I've not found it as hands-on because I haven't needed it to be hands-on. The reason I chose to work with Josh was because I just needed someone to bounce ideas off. I knew how to get clients. I knew how to build a business. I knew how to do all those things. I just needed someone in
your corner.
Yeah, and that was basically it. Like we jump on a call every other week, and I text him probably daily, bouncing ideas and things like that off of him, which is what I need. So, two very, very different mentorships. And the other ones, I've been in other ones. I've spent quite a bit of money on mentorships and that sort of thing. But yeah, that first one, it was great. All about paid advertising, and that's when I kind of fell in love with. I was literally like, right, I'm no longer trading time for money. I'm trading money for time now, which is exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was a case of stick money into this ad campaign and get clients out the back as long as it's proven and it works.
Yeah, because ads seem so interesting. It seems as if like there's just like this whole other world of like client acquisition that you can access through ads. Because before we started our business, we tried doing like Facebook ads, like the typical like social media marketing agency, and we did it for a nightclub, right? And it didn't go very well. Like there's so much stuff, there's so many moving parts to it that I think I just can't comprehend. But then it also leads to so many more results. So how do you sort of get started in sort of ads then? Because like say if I was looking to get into them in the next month, I'm not, but I'm just pretend that we are. What would you say would be the best steps to take then?
In my experience, the first step is you've got to have a chat with yourself about, are you willing to swap money instead of time? A lot of people are far more open to sinking hours and hours into something than hundreds and thousands of their money to get the same sort of result. So one of the biggest roadblocks, or I literally discussed this on the first call before I even take a client on now, is what's your relationship to money like? If we spend £1,000 on advertising, you can shit yourself and want to cancel.
What's your relationship to money like?
What's my relationship to money? I've always had a very throwaway attitude with money. I've never been someone that's like, I've never been a saver. Never been a tight ass, really. Which is probably why paid advertising works best for me, because I'm more than happy to throw a load of money at it.
Yeah.
But that's the first kind of step. I am getting better with managing money and being sensible with it.
Invested in coffee machines.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And playing for the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the first thing you got to do is think about, are you willing to spend money on the delayed reward rather than time for the delayed reward?
So it is obviously quite a delayed reward then, like with ads. Because like me, for example, putting £120 over 3 days on an Instagram post, is that not the best move to make?
Well, it depends.
It was shit, by the way.
Well, that's literally my answer when it comes to paid advertising.
Yeah.
It depends, because there's so many different moving parts and variables that need to be taken in consideration. Like, other clients that boost a post, get a ton of followers, get a couple of clients. I've had coaches in the same niche do the same thing and get nothing. So it's a case of testing, right? Okay. And it's about whether you're willing to put money into testing and getting the data, or time into getting the data back. Okay.
Is it like a lot of trial and error then, I'm assuming?
Depends. Yeah, it depends if you're figuring it out yourself, like anything. If you learn from someone, you can obviously learn quicker, but there's still going to be a degree of testing.
So do people come to you then and they think that you're like this magic answer, if that makes sense? Like they think they're like, oh my God, if I do this, I'll just automatically get leads, get clients? Or like, do they not understand that it does actually takes two to tango, right? So they've got to produce X, Y, and Z, and you've got to do X, Y, and Z to give them a result. Do they think that you're just going to click a few buttons and then they've got clients?
Some do, yeah. Yeah, some do. That's why I've now started having this conversation initially. Like, before I even turn ads on, there's a mindset module that they go through.
A mindset module?
Basically, your mindset around paid advertising and money.
Okay, what does that look like?
It's basically just like, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be spending money instead of time. There may be a delayed period where you put money in and there's nothing that's come back yet. If you're not willing to do that, then we're not going to get the outcome that we want, right? I've done this for hundreds of people. I've done it for myself with multiple businesses in multiple different niches. I know it works. The only variable is time, right? We're going to be controlling everything else. It also requires a degree of effort on your side of things. I will turn things on and you will get leads instantaneously. That's not a problem. But there's a period in between that requires effort. However, what we're leveraging here is your effort is going on to cash generating activities rather than sending 100 messages a day. You're spending it speaking to 10 people a day that want to speak to you, rather than messaging 100 and hearing back from three that then go cold after a bit of back and forth. Yeah. So it's just getting their mindset, kind of setting expectations of what it's kind of like. Because I love paid advertising, mate. I think it's fucking awesome.
I mean, if you look at advertising in history, sorry to interrupt. If you look at advertising throughout the entire course of history, you turn on the TV at 9 o'clock, right, to watch I'm a Celebrity. What's in between? Like every 30 minutes, adverts. Yeah. Adverts have been have come through in history. So I think social media advertising is just a new wave of advertisement. You don't go on TV to watch ads anymore. You go on Facebook. Yeah. I see Mark Holes every single day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's literally just a different medium but the principles are the same regardless. It's about grabbing your attention, having an offer that people want, and then making sure that you've got the sales process in the back end that means you can capitalize on those leads and turn them into clients.
What's the number one mistake you see people make then with after you've done your magic? What would you say that they fail to capitalize on?
That's a good question. Probably not having the systems in place to capitalize on the lead flow coming in. Okay. Potentially that. And also maybe, again, coming back to mindset, it's scary. It's just another stage in their personal growth that they've got to deal with, whether they don't want to have the sales-based conversations with people, they feel icky about them, and now they've got to have more, so they just avoid it. And then they don't get the result that they want. because they've avoided the bit that actually was needed. So which is why I have that course now to kind of help them. It's not even a course, it's just a couple of videos, like a module on what's required of you to make this work.
I've never thought about that. I've never thought about the fact you have to have a specific mindset before ads, because to me it's just seemed like one of those things where it's a paid adventure. Like you go on the adventure of having ads, but you just have to pay every step of the way. I didn't actually think there's a whole psychological factor towards it.
I think if you frame it as an adventure, that's a good analogy for it.
Oh, a win.
Because it is, mate. It's like anything with entrepreneurship. It's like, all the feelings that you experience growing a business. Say you're growing it organically, you're doing cold outbound. So things, I'm sending all these messages, I'm getting fuck all back. Or, I had a call, didn't close, and Christ, I just spent 2 weeks messaging all these people. And I had the first call and didn't close it. It's all those feelings, but with paid ads, you're just getting it in a shorter time frame, quicker. So you're going, it's like one day you could be like, oh, leads are flowing in, great. You're feeling great about it. Then the next day, no one's replied, or there's no calls in the calendar.
It's up and down.
Yeah.
I have that sometimes. It's like whenever I have bad days with outbound, I always think, right, I'm just planting seeds. Because there's been occasions in the past, right, where I've done a lot of outbound, had nothing, but then 2 weeks down the line, like people just crop out. They come out of the woodwork, and then next thing you know, you've got about 6 new clients in 2 days.
Yeah.
It seems to be quite crazy. There is an argument though.
Quit, before that point.
Yeah, it's like when you pull back the arrow, you draw intention and then you just release it, and it all comes like that. Yeah. I've heard a couple of arguments that you should maximize sort of organic first and then look to ads, because that's the sort of mindset that we've had right now. Me and Alex, we're like, right, how can we maximize our organic acquisition before looking to ads to really just like add? Is there any validity in that, or would you say just jump on ads immediately?
Well, it works either way. Like you can go straight to market with an offer that you know converts. If say you've seen a competitor doing it, or you've done it before, or you understand business to a degree, you can go straight with ads if you want to just shorten that time frame of getting the data picture back that tells you whether it's going to work or not. But if you're like the clients that I see get the most success, or I wouldn't say the most, but the quickest success are the ones that have built a good organic platform already, where they've converted it tens, if not hundreds of times. They've sold it a lot. They know it sells. And then they have this skill set required and the mindset required of hard work and all that sort of thing to then be able to capitalize on more opportunity on the table. But I think if some people haven't got to that point where they've got a lot of clients, they've got the skill set, they've got the sales, they've all that stuff under the belt, then it's just as challenging. But you've got the added pressure of, I put money in this, and now I'm under more pressure to make it work rather than just putting time in. If that makes sense. But that's not to say that people that go straight to ads with an unvalidated offer can't make it work or convert it.
It could work out. How much do people typically spend then on an ad campaign? So if I came to you, say if we were promoting, say the service that we give you, how much would I sort of spend, would you reckon?
Well, on average, it's hard to say. Generally, like this is probably the most common question I got, is what should my ad spend be? And it depends on cost of your product, whether it's validated. Most importantly, how much can you afford to spend and potentially lose and not get a client off the back of? All those things kind of come into play. But generally speaking, I would say if you really want to, if you're new to ads and you want to be a combination of conservative and also take it seriously, then you need to be spending like at least 50 a day, really.
What about balls to the wall?
Balls to the wall? Well, possibilities are endless. Spend whatever you like. I would take a somewhat conservative but still brave attitude initially. I would allocate a testing budget that you're open to losing, whatever that may be. It could be 500, it could be 1,000, it could be a few thousand.
When you say, is that per day?
Yeah, that'd be like
total.
Over a month. Yeah,
Okay.
Whatever you're willing to chuck into a testing phase. And obviously, the bigger the budget, the more you can test, the more data you get back, the quicker you'll get it optimized, the quicker you get a return, but you put more money in. So that's probably the best angle, is how much can you afford to put into advertising and not shit your pants if you don't get a client from here, and then go from there. And obviously the size of that budget will dictate how much stuff you test and how long for. So we have some guys that are spending like 300-400 a day. We're doing about 150 a day at the moment.
You are?
Yeah, we are, yeah. And then...
When you say we, do you have a business partner?
No. I've just got a team.
Have you? Oh, yeah, of course. I was going to say, who's the other partner?
No, it's just me, mate. I run the show, and then I've got a team. I've moved inside now.
Permanently?
I've been promoted.
Because when we first started working together, everything was in the shed. But obviously, we live in the UK, right? So weather not ideal.
No. Well, we live in a 3-bed house. The house is smaller than we'd like.
With no glasses, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So we moved back from Cyprus, where we were before.
You lived in Cyprus?
Yeah. Because my wife's ex-military as well, so we were based in Cyprus. So I was working from home in Cyprus, which was fucking great. Through COVID in Cyprus with a pool in your garden. COVID didn't even...
World was, locked down forever.
Lock you down, mate. You've got the coffee machine over there, the pool over there.
Yeah, that's ideal, really. Yeah. And sun.
Exactly, yeah. So, we moved back from Cyprus, got the 3-bed house, and we bought a new build because we didn't want the chain. We didn't want to come back to the UK and then all fall through and have nowhere to live. Yeah. So we were sensible with that. So we went with a new build that we hadn't even viewed because we lived flying back and forth with a baby and a 5-year-old, or 4, she was 4 at the time.
So you're taking the same approach to property that you are to ads, just balls to the wall.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. So we had literally the woman that we bought them from Barrett Homes, and the lady that sold it to us in the sales office, she literally just video called us and said, "This is the house, this is the floor plan." We're like, "Yeah, cool. Sam, we'll grab that then." Bought that. So we're in the 3-bed house, and obviously 2 kids. They had a bedroom each. The baby was dreadful at sleep, so we couldn't really put her in with the older one because she just had her up all night as well. So they had separate rooms. And I was like, I can't keep working from it was the dining room, then I'd go up to one of the bedrooms, and then I'd go into the lounge, depending on where the family were. I was like, this is a bit of a...
You can't do any deep work then, can you?
If I wanted to take it seriously, I need my own space. So we had a plastic shed, wasn't even wooden. Stripped it all out, cleaned it, put soundproofing in there. I've got a heater in there, all that sort of shit. And then, I got to work inside of there. And now we've moved, the girls are in the same room, and I've got the corner of the spare room upstairs.
Leveling up, just a man in his shed.
Yeah. No longer in the cash cabin.
No. So what would you say then? Obviously, I know you work with a lot of online coaches, that sort of type of business. And you've obviously been one yourself, I'm assuming, obviously. Yeah. What would you say the biggest mistake that a fitness individual, online coach, online business owner makes when they try to market themselves? Or what do you think maybe they do that they think to be correct, but is really just quite adverse?
I was actually thinking about this the other day because someone asked me the same question. Like, what do you think is the biggest mistake that coaches are making? And I was like, well, they want a full-time coaching business, but they don't want to work full-time on it. So they don't put the effort in required to get to that point. They approach it as a side hustle, and then they wonder why it never grows. Yeah. So they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to grow my online coaching business." I'm like, "Oh, how long are you spending on it a week?" "Oh, 5-10 hours." I'm like, "Okay."
5-10 hours a week?
Yeah, this is like personal training hours, all that sort of stuff. Because maybe they only have 5 to 10 hours. So it's... Yeah, that's probably the biggest issue is they're not willing to put the work in that it takes. They see it as like a side hustle type thing. And then yeah, that's just a generalized statement from probably most business owners. But with online, you can afford for it to be a side hustle because you haven't got the overheads that a brick and mortar business would, where you can't do it part time. You got to go in and do it.
Yeah, because that's one of the benefits of my business, your business. Like, I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know what goes into ads, but I'm assuming your overheads aren't that expensive.
Biggest overhead is ad spend. We spend probably £300 on software a month. That's it.
Just £300?
Just £300 on software, and then a couple of K on advertising at the moment, and then probably a couple of K on paying the team.
So what does a shit ad look like then? Because in terms of because you got to make it captivating, right? Like you've got to make it creative. You've got to capture the imagination. You've got to increase retention. What does a terrible ad look like? And then adversely, what does a really good ad look like, in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question, because again, it depends. I've had ads that we've looked at and the clients looked at and gone, this looks shit. This looks, not great, not the quality that we'd like to be putting out, or whatever the case may be. I want it more professional, and that one's outperformed the rest. Like, for example, we had a client who spent a couple of $1,000 on video, like a videographer, video editing, all that sort of stuff, branding, to get these ads together. I was literally waiting maybe 3-4 weeks for these ads because they had to be just perfect. And I was like, okay, cool. While we're waiting, let's put some images together, some creatives together, and I'll get you to record some videos on your phone, just like that. Yeah, just handheld, real, walking down the street, get the beach in the background, try these different things. And because they had a pretty big advertising budget, we're like, let's chuck it all out there and see what sticks. And we'll do the professional, polished stuff against the more raw, unedited stuff, and also images that were just images of them, and also creatives with like writing and shit like that in there as well. Threw it all out there. And the video that he said that he hated, that he thought was the shittest one out of the whole lot, that we ran and tried anyway, because I like to tick every box, outperformed the rest. Really? A video that he recorded on his balcony with the marina in the background outperformed the thousands of pounds that he spent on other highly polished ads, because it was, for whatever reason, stopped the scroll, had a good hook, and people paid attention.
Do you think it's because he was on the balcony?
Yeah. The background was nice, stopped the scroll, a good hook, they paid attention. And then the resource that we were providing within the ad was obviously what people wanted. I personally think it was the fact that it didn't look like an advert, and also the fact that the background was pretty nice.
What's an advert look like then, in your opinion?
An advert?
Because you see like on YouTube, for example, right? You get YouTube ads before pretty much every video if you don't have YouTube Premium, and they all just look like, you're just like, this just doesn't look thing. There's this guy, he does property or corporate real estate or something, and every time he does an advert, I'm like, I just instantly skip. I'm like, you're not catching my attention at all. Yeah. So it seems quite salesy, if that makes sense. So how do you make an advert not look very corporate and make it a bit more casual?
Well, I guess with video, it is being exactly that. It's being casual. And I guess if it's with images, it's using an image that isn't advertising.
Do you run like image only advertisements then? Because in my experience of looking at advertisements, it's just all been like video, mostly video anyway.
We test it all. So we test as much as possible. So depending on the client's budget, we'll test as much as we can just to see what works. Like, say if someone's coming at us with say £1,000 advertising budget, we'll test 5 videos, 5 images, 5 copies, 5 headlines, and we'll throw them all out, all combined and mixed together. So like 50 plus different ad combinations potentially. Throw them all out there and then see what comes back. And we get mixed results every time, hence why we test the whole lot, because we have some clients who maybe they've got a great physique, where they're absolutely shredded and they've had bodybuilding shoots done, which is eye-catching for someone that wants that kind of result. They have images perform best for them. Maybe it's a coach who, say, we've got a leadership coach that we're working with at the moment. She doesn't like being on video, doesn't really want to put images out there, didn't really have any that were worth using. So we used the creative angle with a free ebook that said, free ebook for blah, 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 image of the book, tested a few different designs of that, and that's working for her. So it's playing to your strengths and at the same time testing as much as possible. Like I prefer doing video ads for myself. I like being on video, but I've always found that images work better in my experience most of the time. Because you can just, if you've got an image with a bold headline and a clear offer on it, that's easier to consume, easier for someone to understand. And as long as it stands out, it will always perform better than a video that they've got to watch for a minute to get the information from that you want to have.
Yeah, because you see a lot of people waffling. Done it myself. I'm guilty of it myself. Is it?
I can give someone a script, mate, that's 20 seconds long when I read it, and it's fucking 45 seconds longer a minute when they send it back.
Yeah, that can happen a lot because you don't realize how long it takes to actually execute something on camera.
Yeah.
Like when you speak something, like there's been reels that I've done, right? They've been like 2-3 bullet points, but they've turned out to be like over a minute long. And like, let's be honest, with the way people's attention span is nowadays, unless you're like really good at captivating attention, no one's watching you for over like a minute and a half, unless they know you.
Yeah. I think with video, and again, this is based on my own experience of running paid ads and also what I pay attention to. If you're running video ads, either keep it simple and straight to the point, or you've got to go really fucking high budget, like Billie Jean high budget.
Really?
Yeah, in my opinion, because I don't really watch anything kind of in between. I either watch a video that's short and sweet, that's 20 to 30 seconds long, or one that's like I'm watching a fucking film in about over 2 minutes long.
So I've got to like jump out of a plane.
Yeah, skydive.
Damn, I'm just planning my ad content now. Do you know any planes I can jump out of?
We could probably find one. Google's a beautiful thing.
Probably ideal. What's some of the worst ads you've seen then?
Some of the worst ads I've seen? I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Just getting a guide on how to not make ads right now.
I don't know, because usually if you see an ad, it should be doing relatively well, because otherwise it would be fucking turned off.
Also, if I'm seeing Mark Holes every single day, it means that the ad is doing well.
Yeah.
Do you see him a lot? Because I'm sure you might do. Yeah, I feel like I know the guy. So is that an indicator then that his ad is doing like really, really well?
Yeah, if you keep seeing the same ad over and over again, chances are it's performing. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep chucking money in it. Like I get on calls with coaches all the time, and they're like, "I see your ad all the fucking time."
I've never seen that.
It's not targeting you, which is good if you're not seeing it, because I don't want to work with you. Well, this ad's for online coaches, so it's if you were seeing it, then I'd be concerned.
It's crazy how that works though. Like your phone collates data on someone's activities, preferences, status, what they do, stuff like that, and you can just target it specifically towards that.
Well, now it's even smarter.
Okay.
Meta's moving away from interest-based targeting, where you can choose the audiences that you put in front of. Okay. You used to be able to say, I want this in front of people that are interested in ClickFunnels, health and fitness, personal training. You used to be able to choose all those things. You can still choose a select of those, and we do test that as part of the testing process. But it's now leaning more towards algorithm-based targeting, where your offer, the copy, the creative has got to be really good, because that's what does the heavy lifting from a targeting basis now. So you've got to be calling out the people that you want to be in front of in the copy, because then the algorithm then will see, oh yeah, Matthew's come through this ad. Clearly this ad's for people like Matthew. Let's analyze his profile, go and find someone like you.
Oh, so they make like
a... It just keeps learning as more and more people opt in. So if you get that wrong as an advertiser,
you're causing a chain reaction.
Have a cascade effect of shit leads coming through if you don't get that right. And we even have it where an ad can be performing really, really well, and then further down the line, low quality leads or leads that we don't want start coming through, and an ad that was working well is now being put in front of the wrong people. So you then have to relaunch things or launch something different, so the algorithm can then learn again and go from there.
It tries to like re-educate itself after X amount of time.
Yeah, it just kind of it learns from the audience's behaviour and the leads that come through, and then just basically says, oh, okay, clearly this is for people like this. And as more and more come through, then you just think, oh yeah, put this in front of more of those people to get them more of those leads that are coming through. Whether they're qualified or unqualified, the algorithm doesn't know. It's just learning based off the people that are coming through the advert.
Where do you learn all this?
Well, Meta actually tells people. They've got on the website, they'll put up updates on how to target and all that sort of stuff. But there's people out there that know way more than me on advertising that I learn from. But yeah, so we've had the same ad, launched it, did shit, had not the ideal leads coming through that we wanted. The first course of action would be relaunch that same campaign again, and then it's performed better. So a lot of it is about who it's in front of initially and then who comes through, and then it kind of compounds from there. So it will go one of two ways. It'll either go really badly or really, really well.
Do you think AI is going to have any part to play in how well ads do in the future, or any impact on the ad space overall? Because you're big on, obviously you did a podcast with George, and his whole business is automations. So how do you think that AI is going to play out in just the future of advertisement marketing?
I think it's going to make it easier to advertise, because you can leverage your time better to get more stuff out there, to test more often, to test more things. But I think you're still going to need to have someone with a degree of expertise behind the wheel steering the ship. Otherwise, if you leave it could, like we've just discussed, it could go terribly wrong if there's no one kind of keeping an eye on stuff that's coming through. But I think, it can make it easier for people to get involved with advertising and, put into ChatGPT, I need an advert for this, and then get it pinged out. And I think if someone still doesn't understand advertising and they go down that route, then that doesn't mean that AI is going to just give them a winning formula straight off the bat. There's still going to be testing involved, but it just means that people can do it quicker.
Yeah, because a lot of people have the viewpoint about AI that it's just going to magically, it can obviously do a lot. Like it can just magically solve things. But I think a lot of people have the viewpoint of it's like this cure for people's laziness and people's problems. Yeah. It's not though, is it really? No. Like it's just a bit of a catalyst to help you save time.
Yeah, I think if people use it as a way of saving time, that's the best way to use it. Like I was on a call with a client earlier. I do a game plan call with every new client, takes about an hour, where we just go through avatar offer, pricing, niche, the lead generation strategy we want to go after, getting clear on their program pillars and all that sort of stuff. And we were trying to decide on what that initial lead magnet that we wanted to put out in the market was. So we brainstormed it, came up with it, and then we're like, right, how can we describe it and name it? So I just went straight into ChatGPT, banged in there, we've got this, it does this, and this, and this, it's for this, and this, and this. Can we have a name and a description for this resource? And it just spat out like 10 different names and descriptions. And I read them to the client. And we were both like, that one there sounds perfect, which would have taken us hours, if not longer, to decide on ourselves, and was just done in about, and was literally done in like 2 minutes.
It's crazy. It's crazy what it can do as well. And there's obviously like new systems coming in place with AI, and it can just like automate half your business for you. It's crazy. What about, you can also use it for outbound as well. What's your opinion on sort of outbound lead generation? Do you think it's like, do you think you're like scum if you do it?
No, not at all. I think you just got to choose what you're willing to do with for your business. Like there's a point in time when you have no other choice but to do manual outbound. Like I've had an agency before that I wound down, and then when I started this one again, which is only 5 months ago when I fired this agency back up again.
What agency was it?
It was doing the same thing, but I built it the completely wrong way the first time. It was focused more on, not to say I'm not service focused now, but it was focused more on over delivering and justifying the price point to the point where profit margin was like obliterated. Yeah. I was bringing on like the best copywriters, the best media buyers.
Huge offer, but it just wasn't working.
Large overheads, and I was working like 50 hours a week and was getting paid like $1,000 a month. It was a joke. Ended up burning out, getting really sick, just working so much and being so emotionally invested in the whole thing. I was like, I'm going to step away and get out of this. Maybe revisit in the future. I went and got some jobs, some contracts as like a freelance marketing manager, copywriter, media buyer, just to kind of work with some bigger companies with bigger budgets, get my skills set up, but at the same time, not have that pressure of trying to run my own business. I was still self-employed, but I had a somewhat guaranteed income each month, he says, until 6 months ago or 5 months ago when the two big contracts that I had decided to just reduce their marketing budget like overnight and left me there with like me thumb up my ass like, well, great, what do I do now? Yeah, so I was like, okay, what do I do now, Evan? It's time to either go and find another freelance gig that could take ages to get a decent one and still won't cover the bills, or I go and do what I know how to do, which is build a business and just kind of immerse myself into that kind of pressure situation again. But leveraging what I've learned over the last 6 years of entrepreneurship and doing it right this time, which is when I hired Josh. Literally, the last 750 quid I had in my bank, I gave to Josh and said, right, I have nothing now.
I didn't even have 750 quid.
Literally nothing. I had wife, 2 kids to feed. And there was someone, if Sarah watches this, I'm sorry. She doesn't even know this.
She does know.
I gave him the last, in fact, I had to split pay because I now 750 quid. I gave him 325 quid or something like that. And then 2 weeks later, I was going to give him another 325 quid or however much. Because I'm the sort of person where if there's a kind of a way that I'll be able to choose the easy option, then I will. So if I had just enough money to get by, then I would just stay doing what I was doing. So I was like, if there's any money left in the bank account and I have any other option other than busting my fucking bollocks to build this business up again, then I'll avoid it.
So you have to force yourself, correct me if I'm wrong, force yourself to bust your ass.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So you are creating pressure for yourself and pushing yourself by giving yourself no choice and putting yourself under duress.
Yeah,
I like that.
Basically spent the last 6 years kind of doing a lot of reading, a lot of learning about myself, spent a lot of time studying Stoicism, all that sort of stuff. Well, a lot about me, how that sort of thing where I'm inherently lazy, so I have to create situations that force me to not be lazy. Don't get me wrong, I don't sit on the sofa eating shit all the time. I'm not that kind of lazy, but if I can choose the easy option, then I will, like most human beings. But I'm acutely aware that was going to be the case again, that we just get by if I didn't throw everything in and give me no other choice. I can remember Sarah was stood at the back gate, no word of a lie, she was going to a food bank to get food because we had nothing, no money, we had nothing at all. No food in the house, nothing. That's not even exaggerating. Josh is the only one that knows about this story. In fact, I don't think Josh even knows. This may be the first one I've probably talked about it. But she was literally waiting to go to the food bank because we had nothing. She was obviously crying. She was pissed at me a little bit, I guess. So obviously I've never been under so much pressure in my life. And I was on a sales call in the shed. Sarah was 2 meters away. I could see her light reflection on the wall at the corner of my eye, knowing that she was listening and she could hear through the wall me on the sales call with this coach. And I was like, if I don't close this deal and get some cash over the line, then she'll be going to the food bank and how the fuck am I ever going to live that down? So I was like, so I had to maintain all composure with this call, not show any of that kind of,
They can't.
if I showed any inkling of pressure or desperation, they'd run a mile. And I closed the guy and he paid in full.
Nice.
Just shy of $2,000. And I was like, literally, I kicked the fucking shed door open. And I was going, get the fuck in the house. I was like, I closed it. Literally, I pulled a muscle in my shoulders going, fucking come on, swinging the washing line around. Just went mental. So I was literally the pressure that I've been under for the last 2 weeks of giving over that last couple hundred quid that we had, of literally, not even joking, 15 hours a day doing cold outbound, which is what you originally asked me was, what do I think about cold outbound? Well, I didn't have a choice. So I was literally every single day, hundreds and hundreds of messages every single day, because I had no other choice to get calls in the calendar. And then, 2 weeks later, which is what I mean by the delayed effect as well. Yeah, the delayed effect. I was at this point investing time because I didn't have any money to invest into things. And I was doing a lot as well, a couple of hundred a day, manually myself, because I couldn't even afford automation software. So I was doing it all myself. Every single day, I was literally glued to the laptop, determined to make it work. Because it's like you're handing over that last bit of money to Josh was probably the most important thing that he could have done for me. Even mentorship that maybe continues for the next couple of years. Giving him that money, and he didn't take it off me. He didn't force me to. He didn't put balls in the vice and say pay up. I went into it full knowing that this was what the outcome was, and that he was going to support me in that process of getting clients. But it literally was just handing over that last bit of money and knowing that if I didn't make it work this time, then I would be going and getting a job at Amazon warehouse, fucking packing boxes. Yeah, and I didn't want that. Yeah. So it's like a switch flicked to me, and I was like, you know what? me, the girls, Sarah, we deserve better than this. From the skills that I've developed and what I know and how I've developed as a human being over the last 5 years, it's all led to this moment and this sales call, right?
Oh, no. You didn't start thinking like, oh, everything has led to this one moment.
Yeah. And then that was it. And then I closed him, and then I paid Josh the cash that was owed, and then still no food bank, and then I had literally that money went straight back out immediately on to Josh to get Sarah to get stuff for other bills that I've been batting off, and then it was literally within a couple of hours. This was literally it was 6:30 on a Friday.
Friday evening?
Yeah, 6:30 on a Friday evening. So I had to have gone. It wasn't like, oh yeah, tomorrow I can do calls because it's Saturday and Sunday. It was like, this is last chance saloon, or all weekend we're going to be fucking skint.
Yeah, that feeling of desperation does create like magic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I've been in this position before where cash has been tight, and I've always found a way. I've always found money from somewhere. I've maybe closed a deal or got whatever was needed to kind of get by, or leverage the credit card, or I've always had a way of getting out of it. And I was like, if I give myself an option to get out of it other than build this business, then I'll do it. So I was like, fuck it. And here we are.
Yeah. Bit of a story for you, Lewis, right? So obviously the way that we started working together was from me messaging you, right? Spade to spade. I was, doing cold outbound, right? So the day before we had a conversation on Zoom, I was in Marbella with Josh, and one of our clients dropped off, and I was like, shit. Like you lose a client, you hate it, right? So you're like, you want to acquire more. So Alex and Josh went to sleep. I was drinking coffee on my laptop, just messaging, and obviously we had a conversation, and then obviously we had a conversation the next day, and then we started working together. And that only came because I was putting myself under pressure. I was like, I've got to do something about this. I can't losing clients. I'm not sure if you've lost clients or can you lose clients?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a nice feeling ever. No. And like the pressure of that really like kicked me up the arse. Yeah. So as soon as they dropped off, I had coffee in. I was just messaging people.
I think it's situations like that show the difference between someone that's going to be successful or someone that's not. And obviously successful is different to everybody. Yeah. But to someone that's going to really build something where you can, you're financially free, stress free. You've got somewhat of a empire of some degree where people are working with you or for you or whatever.
Empire building.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's those situations where how you kind of handle that pressure.
I love it. I love that pressure. I don't know where it is. It's like, obviously losing a client, it sucks, because when you work with people personally, it's like you like lose, like, not friends, but you know what I mean? It's like, when you work with someone so bespokely, you probably feel this with your clients. When you lose someone, it's never nice. It's like, oh, you feel a bit deflated. But that pressure and like the feeling of like, not desperation, but like the feeling of putting pressure on yourself to close someone or get stuff done, it's so nice. Like, it's not nice in the moment, but when you look back on it afterwards, you're like, do you know what? That was quite good.
I've done it before, I'll do it again. Yeah, that feeling you get afterwards is good.
Would you rather security, or would you rather a lot of risk? So if I said to you, for example, right, Lewis, you can be making, I don't know, 50 grand a month doing what you're doing now, but your wage, you stay 50k a month, or you might go back down to zero, but then you could have 100k a month back down to zero, and then just go from there. What would you choose? Because there's security there, isn't there? Like you said, like it's natural for you to pick like the secure option. What would you go for?
That's a good question. Not 100% sure. Right now, with how things are going, I don't know. That is a good question. So would I prefer to have a consistent amount coming in, or deal with some adversity in 10 years from now being
potentially having to go to food banks again, but then you might get 100k. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that type of intensity, because it's like entrepreneurship in my experience. Yeah, because I've only been an entrepreneur for like a year maybe, if that. Whereas you've done like 6 years, and it seems to be like it's up, down, up, down, up, down, like all the time. Like sometimes you get good days, sometimes you get shit days.
Yeah. Like, I think there's always a risk of. I don't think you ever have security though. If that's my thinking of that. just thinking about that question, that's what I think. There's no real, like, look at COVID. Everyone thought full-time jobs, you're employed by someone, you got security. And how many people got let from their jobs and were fucked? So I think there's no more, I don't think there's more risk with being a business owner, but I think there's equally more reward with it. So if you can handle the pressure and the stress that comes with being a business owner, then I think I could never be employed again and get a guaranteed income.
No.
When I was working freelance for those companies.
What's it like doing freelance work then? Because I've heard it, like, in my opinion, it would be like I'd dread it, because it's eat what you kill then, isn't it? It's not. There's no security. I know there's no security in, our businesses, but it's a lot more secure because you're not hunting things and hustling every day. It's like anything. It depends on a few things. It depends on the person that you're working for, or the company that you're working for, what they're like, what they're paying you for, all those sorts of things. I was working for two companies. One was great to work for, super laid back. They're all into spirituality, nature, earth, positive impact. Those sort of people are great clients because they're so chilled. Are you chilled? You seem quite relaxed when we talk in our chat. You seem just like sound. Thanks. THX.
Yeah, I sound pretty chill. Yeah, most of the time I'm probably guilty of being too chilled.
In what sense?
Like people pleaser to a degree.
Really?
People have walked all over. Yeah, people walk all over me sometimes, which I guess is why partly not why I've got the business where it is now. Before is because I was too nice, I guess, too gentle, too whatever. Again, there was a lot of changes that happened at that point when I chose to work with Josh, and that was probably one of them that I just chose. I'm done with. Getting by, done with being talked to like shit, treated like shit, and being at the whim of other people. Like the second company that I worked for, freelance side of things.
Here we go.
But they potentially might see it, so you've got to be somewhat diplomatic with what I say. But they weren't the easiest to work for. I guess they wanted to underpay and over
deliver.
Yeah, I wanted to underpay you, and I wanted more. Wanted you to move the earth.
He's holding back. You can tell.
Yeah, so I just want to try to pull it back to the original question. From the freelance side of things, it depends on the person and the company that you work for and what their leadership style is like, and which is why I was like, you know what, they reduced my income or dropped me altogether or whatever the case may be. There's no security in that. I might as well just go and take control of things myself rather than just, there may be more a guaranteed income with it, although as evidence would tell me, clearly not, because I'm fucking sat here with no fucking money and just been dropped with like 24 hours notice.
Zero contract then, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Well, technically it said in the agreement they should give 30 days notice, but they didn't. They just fucking, and I couldn't really enforce it. They're like multi-million pound companies.
Damn, you work for multi-million pound companies?
Yeah. One of the companies I worked for was in America, and they have a retreat.
Can you name them now?
I could, but I won't. I'll tell you after. Yeah, off air, yeah. They had a property company, a couple of retreats. The owner was flying all over the world. Like literally, it was like a internationally recognized company that was all aligned around nature. Like they'd invested money in to films aligned with nature.
It's definitely hard to steal.
No. Invested money in like cinematography. They like a film that Leonardo DiCaprio was.
What's Wall Street?
Producer on. No. Was it producer on?
Stratton Oakmont.
No, you're not going to guess that. I can guarantee it. They very, very big companies. So what could I do if they dropped me at the drop of a hat?
You're not going to fly. You're not flying the owner's plane and ask him here.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, just had to fucking take it on the chin and crack on. So yeah, freelance. Depends who you work for. That's how good it is.
So where do you see yourself going then? Obviously in the next couple of months, because obviously
At the moment, I'm set on, and I've been set on this since I went self-employed, but I've never really had the skill set, the mindset needed to kind of get there, which is to make more in a month than I used to make in a year when I was employed. So that's the current goal, which was, it was 28 grand was my salary when I was in the RAF. So right now I'm pushing to get to that.
I was on 22 in my job and I was a low-level admin. That's crazy because like look at the difference in roles. Like you're in the Royal Air Force, I'm in the APHA office, and I'm on like 6k less than you. Like there should be a larger disparity in that. That's crazy.
There's obviously benefits that come with it. You get free medical, dental, that sort of stuff.
Do you think the military shaped how you run your business today? Because I like if you look at like a lot of people who've come out of the military, like Jocko Willink, like you look at his whole thing, discipline, getting it done. Do you think you've had any sort of similar impacts?
I don't think so. Just because I was never really immersed in that kind of environment like he was. Like he obviously comes from a SEALs environment. I was just an engineer.
That was an extreme example, though, to be fair.
Yeah. I guess it helped a bit, maybe. Maybe with being more organised with my time, potentially. Putting a focus on my health and fitness, which obviously constitutes into performance in the business space. But I think what it taught me probably is how I didn't want to lead.
Okay.
So I know how I was treated by my managers and different levels of management, and how like the mindset across the Air Force and the military in general isn't overly positive.
No.
When it comes to like morale, is the word I was looking for. You moan about your managers, you think they're a dick, you think your corporal's a prick, all this sort of thing. There's very much a dictatorship, which I guess a military environment should be. But if you want to get the most out of people, a dictatorship doesn't work.
So how would you lead then? If you had to boil it down to a couple of characteristics, what would you say?
Patience and empathy are important.
Okay. Patience for what? As in like people make mistakes and have patience for it?
Exactly. People coming in and making errors initially, giving them the space to kind of figure it out themselves. Be patient with them. Same as you would raise, or you should raise a child. Like I raise my kids the same way. If they, don't get me wrong, I'm not the world's best father, but raising them with patience and love and empathy, that they are different, they're their own person, and who am I to tell I've got a graphic designer who works for me. He's worked for me since I had the agency before. Even when I was doing freelance stuff, I used to get him gigs. He lives in Pakistan. His name's Osama. He's an absolute fucking savage designer, best designer I think I've ever, and I've worked with a lot. He's the one that stuck around the longest. Who am I to tell Osama how to live his life and how to do his job? I'm not a graphic designer. Never have been, never will be. So I've got to have the patience to give him the space that he needs to get into his creative zone of genius. And then when he has that space to get into his space of creative genius, he does better work. He feels better. He feels more positive towards me. He doesn't resent me. He produces better work. So that's one of the biggest things when it comes to leadership, is having, I guess, I don't know what the word is. I guess the love for myself, to have enough for other people, to give, as weird as that may sound to someone that doesn't really understand that sort of thing. But if I can learning to love myself and be patient with myself and forgive myself, it's going to help me then give my team members the same, which means that they enjoy their work, produce better work. I get better results out of them, and it's a reciprocating cycle. So that's probably the most important one, is in my experience. I mean, I've only managed a team of, at the moment, we've got a team of like 4 of us. It's not like it's a massive organisation to kind of lead.
Still a squad though.
Yeah, exactly. And I run a daily meeting with them, and the rest of the time, I leave them to it. We use a project manager tool that is all organised and systemised.
Just to touch on having love for yourself, they say that hate outward begins with hate inward. And that is a huge thing. Like, because obviously when my business grows now, and we're going to have team members, and I want to become a bit of a leader, I'm trying to learn the sort of basic characteristics and principles that I'm going to need to be a really effective and really good leader. I think having love for yourself and actually being positive towards your own inner self is huge when you want to lead other people.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if I look at the companies that I've worked in, the people in the military that I've worked for, all these different people that I've kind of been led by, or, led well or led badly, the ones that I look up to and that I worked hardest for and put the most effort into were the ones that treated me like another human being. And I have the pleasure of being inside of a lot of big organizations and kind of seeing how they operate and treat their staff without actually being one of them. That makes sense. And I know what...
You get a peer through the glass.
Yeah, I'm like a fly on the wall. They come and speak to me and say, they speak to me about the people that I'm freelanced in for, if that makes sense. So I kind of see how different management and leadership styles impact company performance, all that sort of stuff. And also, not just based on that, but how it impacts the health of that leader. If they're a micromanager, if they haven't done any of that inner work, they rule by an iron fist, they usually have health issues at some point, sooner or later.
Really?
Stress-induced stuff, migraines, whatever, that sort of stuff, and they don't enjoy being in business, which is why business is hard enough without you making it even harder for yourself by not being able to manage your emotions.
Are we good?
So, this is wrapped up.
Oh, right, that's fine. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. How long have you been going for?
1 hour and 3 minutes.
Oh, shit. Well, yeah. Well, on that note, what was the last thing you said? It was about health issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't know where to go from here now. I'll just wrap it up.
Maybe you can say something like that'd be interesting to hear for part 2. We could touch a bit more on that. I did this. This has been this. Like, subscribe.
Subscribe.
Say it.
I don't say that. I don't say it. No. I just do the podcast for the fun of it. But Lewis, obviously, thank you for giving me your time and coming on. It's good to actually meet you in person. Yeah. I feel like I've seen you on Zoom, seen you on our WhatsApp group chat. But it was good to meet. Good to have a conversation. Have you enjoyed?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. It's flown by. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
I know it goes by quickly. But thank you, Lewis, obviously, for coming on. Thank you for listening. Thank you to Leicester Podcast Studio for hosting. And with that being said, Lewis, thank you. And I'll see you in the next episode.